Today we're gonna be ranking the paths of pain from weakest to strongest, and this was a pretty interesting and difficult list to make because many of the paths of pain don't have abilities that are completely geared towards combat, so I try to make it fair and analyze their abilities in a more holistic way and not just how powerful they can hit. I will also be analyzing the paths in terms of taijutsu and how durable they are because there are differences when it comes to that. But having said that, let's get started with number 7. Yes, I am actually analyzing 7 paths here because there were 2 animal paths, and number 7 is gonna be Shikshodu, or the Asura Path. Now, a lot of people may say this is a pretty strange path to be the last one in the list, and of course the Preta Path is not weak. He is definitely powerful. I'm not saying he isn't, but among every single path of pain, he has the most, I could say, straightforward abilities. He shoots missiles and laser beams, and he can also produce weapons out of his body. Then again, every single path of pain has the ability to produce those rods, which seem to be just fine weapons by themselves. They don't have to produce blades out of their skin. The missiles and laser beams are very useful and they can be powerful. In the invasion of the Leaf Village, for example, the Asura Path was creating a lot of chaos, which was confusing everyone in the Leaf, and they are a great option for long-ranged attacks. Not that Pain wouldn't have other means to do so, but these are good options for him. We also see that the Asura Path is pretty powerful at taijutsu, being able to blow up one of Jiraiya's arms just by a punch when it comes from behind and says, "Well, Jiraiya, it seems you lowered your guard." Now, there is an argument to be had that he didn't punch Jiraiya, but he used some type of attack like a missile or a laser beam, but that doesn't seem to be the case here because he was directly behind Jiraiya. He wouldn't really use a long-ranged attack or an explosion when he is in range of that explosion, but maybe he used one of his blades to cut off Jiraiya's arm. We don't know, but he is strong. We can also see that he withstands the Akimichi large body punch technique when he gets punched down, when Choji and Choza arrive to help Kakashi in the fight, and then he is also able to withstand Kakashi's Raikiri. He tanks the Raikiri in front of Tendo Pain, saving Tendo from being taken out earlier by Kakashi, and he also survives the Raikiri long enough to shoot a missile towards Choji, so Kakashi has to convoy that missile away and prevent Choji from dying so that he can deliver the info about Tendo Pain to Tsunade, and they can have a chance to find Pain much better. Kakashi quote-unquote sacrifices his life in the process. Of course, he's brought back anyways, but still, we can see the Asura Path is durable, even though he gets one shot pretty easily by a base Rasengan from Sage Mode Naruto. This is still pretty impressive, tanking the Raikiri after tanking that massive punch from an Akimichi-sized body. But still, he is gonna be placed here because his abilities are the ones that contribute the least when it comes to the 6 paths of pain, and just because they punch hard, it doesn't mean they are gonna be the most useful ones. Tendo Pain can do the same thing. He can punch hard with Shinra Tensei. Pain can also use the summonings to punch very hard and deal damage with attacks. So he's definitely the least needed path of pain, and I am also trying to include their usefulness out of battle, or not necessarily when it comes to just strength alone and the attacks. If this was just which Pain could punch harder or cause the most destruction, he would be higher up, but because the other Pain's abilities are more useful to Pain as a whole, I'll have to leave him here in last place. Now let's go to number 6, and that's gonna be Shikshodu, or the Animal Path, and more specifically, the Girl Animal Path, the second one, after Jiraiya takes out the first, and then Pain gets a substitute body for the Animal Path when he attacks the Leaf Village. She is definitely the weakest when it comes to the sheer taijutsu. We see that she is the only one who is unable to dodge the Rasen Shuriken tossed by Naruto. The Human Path had to actually grab her and toss her away, sacrificing himself in the process because Nagato thought the Human Path wouldn't be as useful against Naruto in that particular situation. Of course, he had to deal with the summonings that Naruto brought with him, so having his own summons would be very interesting for Nagato. So yeah, let me not get the Animal Path taken out of commission, but then again, the Animal Path is still extremely powerful, even when it's this lesser version, because the girl is not that powerful in taijutsu. The summons provide immense variety. They were one of the main reasons why Pain was able to fight against the entire village. There were dozens upon dozens of summons just wreaking havoc in the Leaf, especially the multi-headed hound. He is definitely the most difficult one to deal with because there are no good ways to take that out of commission. You have to either just teleport him away somehow or use complete hacks. I mean, in the anime, Jiraiya uses the massive frog stomach to kill the dog, and also we see in the war arc that Itachi was able to destroy the hound with Amaterasu, but Naruto wasn't able to do anything about it when he landed a massive Rasen Shuriken in it, so it's very difficult to deal with that thing. Still, because this particular animal path is so vulnerable due to the lack of mobility and just bad taijutsu, I'll have to leave her here. And yes, she can make up for it in mobility. She can use the bird to fly away or the chameleon to become invisible, but then again, Naruto was able to circumvent that very well, and once the animal path was swallowed by Gamabunta, Naruto took her out very, very quickly. Number 5 is gonna be Jigokudo, or the Naraka Path. Now, some people may be saying, wait, what? He's number 5? But his ability is insane! And yes, the Naraka Path ability to just bring back another path of pain from scratch is very important to Pain's arsenal. It's obviously very important for any battle where Pain takes damage. It's the only reason why Jiraiya was essentially killed in their fight, because Pain could bring back every single path that Jiraiya had killed, and also the paths that were taken down during the invasion of Leaf Village were brought back when Pain faced Naruto as well. But that's the only thing the Naraka Path offers. It's a very essential ability, but in terms of combative efficiency, he is not that great. Sure, he can interrogate people with a tongue thing, which is very creepy, and it works for intel collection, but the human path is much better at intel collection anyways, and when it comes to taijutsu and other combative abilities that don't involve his Rinnegan powers, the Naraka Path is very lacking. He was defeated by Konohamaru. Not extremely powerful right there. You know, Konohamaru, yeah, he had the Rasengan, and he fooled the Naraka Path with a shadow clone. Never saw that one before. And this is much more to do with Pain's overall intellect and how Nagato approached fights. He wasn't the smartest opponent, but still, the Naraka Path couldn't handle Konohamaru by himself. Of course, he wasn't quote-unquote destroyed by Konohamaru because he was able to bring back the other paths, so it wasn't as though Konohamaru took him completely out of commission, but he was still defeated, which is pretty bad because Konohamaru, not the strongest opponent he could have faced. Just again, and sure, he had the Rasengan, but that was pretty much it. Obviously, the Asura Path would have defeated Konohamaru in this situation. He was ranked lower, but it's essentially because the Naraka Path ability is so vital for Pain. All in all, this path is only very useful because of his ability and nothing else. So Pain has to actually fight around him and protect him with his defensive formations, making sure the Naraka Path will be the most difficult one to be taken out, but he relies too much on the other paths to remain safe, and therefore he is not gonna rank any higher, even though his ability is very important. Number 4 is gonna be Shikshodu, or the Animal Path again, but this time, the first Animal Path. He was a much stronger body. We can clearly see he was able to react to Jiraiya's fastest jutsu in Sage Mode, Kibari Senbon, summoning a Panda Shield, and he had to weave hand signs to summon it in time, meaning that yes, this particular path is much faster than the girl path Pain brought to the Konoha invasion. This path was contending against Jiraiya by himself before Jiraiya entered Sage Mode, and Jiraiya also felt enough pressure to enter Sage Mode just by facing that path alone. And yes, he was mostly relying on his summons, but of course, I've mentioned before, all his summons put together are extremely powerful, but this path is just much more physically adept. We also see that when Jiraiya drags the path into the frog's stomach, he is able to kind of blitz Jiraiya coming from the acid and shoving one of the pain rods into Jiraiya's body, which was definitely something Jiraiya wanted to avoid, and you can argue he was caught off guard because he thought the pain had died in the acid, but nah, Wow. He should have been able to see that coming if Pain wasn't fast. If it was the girl, for example, Jiraiya would have definitely been able to react to the attack and dodge it out of the way, even though Jiraiya was hurt and not really paying that much attention. We can also see that the man whose body was used for this path of pain was relative to a younger Jiraiya back when he was alive. He fought against Jiraiya in his 20s or so, and he gave Jiraiya a run for his money. So, of course, this is going to be a much stronger path of pain that the small girl Pain used for the attack against a leaf. And yes, it's very much implied that the abilities of the paths of pain are derived from the capabilities of the people who quote-unquote donated their bodies to Nagato. And I'm gonna get more into that later when we reach the higher numbers in this list, but for now, the animal path, the first one, deserves the 4th place here. 3rd place belongs to Ningendo, or the human path. Now, some people say, wait, why? But why the human path? And let me remind you that the human path can one-shot practically anybody he touches. This ability is more powerful when used by Nagato himself, because he can use the Preta Path to absorb any incoming attacks and the Asura Path to block other attacks, just like he did against Naruto and B, while using the human path to extract souls. The human path, while he was attacking the Leaf Village, was doing a great job. He was the one who actually found out the location of Naruto and Mount Myoboku by extracting Shizune's soul, killing her in the process, and the human path was also able to infiltrate in the middle of that group of highly capable jonins, including Inoichi and Shizune herself. They didn't see him coming and just kind of jumped in the middle of it, implying he is very fast. Also, Pain used the human path against Jiraiya, and he didn't even use the human path Rinnegan ability. He just used the human path as a taijutsu combatant, and he was able to keep up with Sage Mode Jiraiya. First, he tanks a kick straight to the face from Sage Mode Jiraiya, which sends him flying dozens of meters, and after that, he is able to block a direct punch from Sage Mode Jiraiya within the smoke. Now, of course, the other paths were watching the smoke, and that's why he saw Jiraiya coming from behind, but still, just the fact that he was able to casually hold down a punch from Sage Mode Jiraiya is very impressive. First, because you can keep up with Sage Mode Jiraiya in terms of speed, and also because he can just be powerful enough, physically powerful, to block Jiraiya's punch in a static block, which is much more difficult than just a parry block. And when you combine this very good taijutsu proficiency with the OP ability to essentially one-shot anybody the human path touches, yeah, this path of pain is ridiculously powerful, and he deserves number 3. Number 2 is gonna be Gakido, or the Preta Path, a path that can absorb ninjutsu. The data book states that this path is a bottomless pit that can absorb everything that's thrown against him, and we see this is very much the case. He is absorbing Rasen Shurikens. Madara himself, when he uses the Preta Path, states that, wow, this is too much energy, this Rasen Shuriken's no joke, and the Preta Path can just absorb it and yeet the chakra. The Preta Path can also absorb Amaterasu and all sorts of ninjutsu attacks. It can also absorb just raw chakra. We see that Nagato was able to drain B out of his version 2 state and regenerate Nagato himself. So when it comes to the actual user of the Rinnegan, in theory, you could just drain chakra and rejuvenate yourself forever, because Nagato looked very old in that fight when he was the Edo Tensei, because that's how he died, due to the Rinne Tensei. And then, by absorbing a decent amount of chakra, he regained his former appearance and his mobility. Of course, this doesn't come into play with the path of pain when Nagato uses a corpse, because yeah, the corpse is already dead, so there's nothing you can do about it. But you can drain the chakra and use it for yourself, which is just an insanely powerful ability to negate ninjutsu and then to direct it against your opponent with your own chakra. Insane! Some people say that the weakness of this path is gonna be Senjutsu, and yes, this is how Naruto defeats the path, but remember, it's after the Preta Path absorbs a copious amount of sage energy. It takes a while for Naruto to transform him into stone. We see that when Jiraiya is fighting against him with Sage Mode, he absorbs a massive Rasengan, and also the combination of the fire, wind, and oil attacks used by Jiraiya and his summons, which of course was also imbued by sage energy. And that was a very sizable jutsu. He was also absorbing fireballs that Jiraiya threw against him in that fight when he was in Sage Mode, so of course he was still taking in sage energy. So so he could still absorb a lot of that before turning into stone or suffering the effects of the sage energy that's just taking over your body. We also see in a couple of panels during the Pain invasion that several Konoha ninjas were attacking the Preta Path at once, and the Preta Path was not defeated by any of them. Now sure, they were nameless ninjas, so not the most powerful ones you could see, and also Kiba and his mom were running after him and chasing, and well, he couldn't do much about it. Pain himself states that taijutsu is not the strong suit of Preta Path, but even still, this is the path he sends to meet Sage Mode Naruto in taijutsu in the first clash they have during the fight where Pain is actually under control of things, because of course the de facto first clash is when Naruto destroys the Asura Path, but then again when Pain realizes, okay, this guy has arrived, I'm gonna send the Preta Path to attack this guy, this Sage Mode Naruto in raw taijutsu. It doesn't work because Naruto knows Furakumite, which means he can kind of punch the target without really punching it, and that manages to defeat the Preta Path, which is then brought back by the Naraka Path anyways. But still, Pain had the confidence that this path could be a powerful enough path to contend against Sage Mode Naruto, and he had just seen the guy stomping the Asura Path, which is a path that could tank the Raikiri and still survive to toss a missile against Choji. So I wouldn't say the Preta Path is completely useless at taijutsu either, and his ability to negate ninjutsu completely and take the chakra for himself is absolutely insane, so he deserves second place. And the number one path of Pain is obviously Hikaku Uchiha, the Solo King. Well, no, actually, I'm just kidding. It's Tendo Pain, the Diva Path, obviously. I don't think this is very surprising. Tendo Pain destroyed the Leaf Village with a single attack, making the place turn into a massive crater with a Shinra Tensei. He can exert control over the battlefield with Shinra Tensei and Banjo Tenin in smaller scales. He can also defend himself very well with Shinra Tensei. Of course, there's the cooldown of 5 seconds, but still, like, the ability is completely insane, especially when he is destroying those 3 massive frogs casually with a Shinra Tensei. Remember, Gamabunta was able to contend against the One Tail back in part 1, and Tendo Pain is just flicking his finger, and those 3 toes that are relative to a tail beast are gone. There's also Chibaku Tensei, which is definitely the most powerful jutsu in Pain's arsenal when it comes to sheer strength, and there's nothing much you can do about a Shinra Tensei. You can either do what Itachi did in the war and destroy it before he gets formed, you can resist if you are extremely powerful like the Nine Tails, or you teleport away before it sucks you in. Otherwise, you are done. There's nothing much to do about it. The Diva Path's abilities are also the ones who scale the best, and we see that with the other Rinnegan users. And what I mean by that is that when they use the Tendo Pain's abilities, like Chibaku Tensei for example, they become massive. Jubidara's Chibaku Tenseis are insanely huge, and he produces dozens of them, meaning that the more chakra you use with the Diva Path, the more powerful your jutsu is gonna be, which doesn't seem to be the case with the other paths of Pain, because these more powerful Rinnegan users choose not to use these abilities most of the time, and they kind of favor Chibaku Tensei and the Diva Path much more than the others. Still, coming back to Tendo Pain himself, he is also probably the strongest one in terms of taijutsu, being able to contend in taijutsu with the likes of Kakashi of the Sharingan and Sage Mode Jiraiya. He was casually blocking Jiraiya's punches when he was in Sage Mode. It was kind of embarrassing, and this is obviously because the body that was used for Tendo Pain was Yahiko's, who was a powerful combatant back in the day, the first original leader of the Akatsuki, so naturally his body is gonna be stronger. Nagato not only wanted Yahiko to remain the quote-unquote leader forever, so he used his body as the main path of Pain to essentially be the leader and get that symbolism that Yahiko's never going to die, but it's also very useful because Yahiko was powerful, and therefore the Diva Path, the path with the most potent Rinnegan abilities, is also gonna be very powerful in terms of taijutsu, durability, and all that. Let me know what's your list in the comments below. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel to help me out grow. I'm trying to reach 100k subs, which would be very amazing, so if you can do that solid for me, I'd appreciate. Also, watch this other video right here for more cool Naruto content, and thank you so much for watching.